Okay, Palak ma'am, please start the introduction about the guest and let we start the session.
Okay, sir. Okay. A very good morning to all. I, Palak Patel from EC Department, welcome you all on fourth day of this Atal-sponsored Variable Devices and its Fundamentals. I feel privileged to have with us Dr. Jignesh Patolia, sir. Let me introduce first. Dr. Jignesh Patolia received BE degree in EC from North Gujarat University and ME degree in EC Engineering from Gujarat University. He secured university second rank in BE as well as ME. He has completed his PhD in the area of embedded system and IoT. He is presently serving as an associate professor in the Department of EC Engineering at the Charotar University of Science and Technology, Changa, since 2009. He is teaching the subjects of postgraduate and undergraduate engineering students of the institute and university. He has conducted more than 125 workshops in the area of microcontrollers, ARM, Arduino, VLSI design, PCB design, embedded C, Arduino C, Python programming, visual programming, MicroPython, robot operating system, real-time operating system, machine learning, ARM Cortex, Raspberry Pi, and Internet of Things. Also delivered expert lectures among various institutes and universities. He has guided 3 PhD scholars. He has guided 21 plus PG dissertations. He has also guided more than 100 UG level projects. He has served as a reviewer in many international conferences. He has published 40 plus research papers in national and international journals and conferences. He has completed one major project and one minor project. He secured the Charlie Innovation Award in JED 1 Project Challenge held at IISc Bangalore. Thanks a lot, sir, for accepting our invitation to deliver an expert talk on embedded firmware design approaches and implementation for wearable devices. I hope today's session will be benefited to all participants. Dear participants, have a wonderful and fruitful session here. Sir, now forum is open for you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful introduction. It's my honor to be part of this FDP and share my knowledge among with these faculty members across the Gujarat. Thank you once again. Right now I'm sharing my screen, so let me just acknowledge me whether it is visible at your end or not.
Sir, participant
Yes,
is
it is
from
visible, sir.
India.
And I hope my voice is also clear.
Yes, it is clear, sir, and your screen is visible now.
So please acknowledge me if I am not audible, because it's very difficult to conduct this online session. So sometime what happened, internet may be down, and at that moment I am in radio mode. So please interrupt me. And I think question answer session we take up at last. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and meanwhile, suppose if participants you have any query, any questions, then please put it in the chat. But if possible, then you can interrupt me if it is a rule of your FDP. So good morning, everyone, one and all present over here. If you look at my this profile, so I am from this embedded background, and this FDP from these last 3 days, it is a day 4. People are talking about this variable devices. So before that, we have these 3 where in our this field in embedded system. One is firmware, second one is software, and third one is hardware. So if my topic would be, or agenda would be right now, what is firmware, which are the possible hardwares that are available for this embedded development. Then after we figure out which embedded hardwares that fulfill demand of variable devices, and if you want to deep dive into this variable devices firmware development, then which are these hardwares, industrial hardwares are available, which hardwares that you can propose at your university or at your department, and which are these IDEs are available. So I am demonstrating these three things with you. One thing is Nordic, this is an NRF, second one is STM32, and third one is ESP32. So here, which are the different approaches that people adopt means at the academic level, as well as right now what industry demand or industry adopted that approaches to develop this firmware. So that I demonstrate Superloop approach as well as this RTOS based approach. And when we need this first approach and when we need this particular second one approach, this entire thing that I'll cover. So this session, and it is all about from my experience. So be with me and stay tuned. Generate this question, maximum questions in your mind, and let me ask if you have at last if possible. So without this time, let me start with this hardware and firmware. So this is a disclaimer that I used to this put. This entire image and contents that use only for teaching purpose. And if you suspect a copyright violation, bring it to my notice and I will remove image or content. So these are the very good these outlines, and I will not bore you, but you people really enjoy this session because it is a hands-on session. So I'll wind up my session within 1 hour and 50 minutes, and then after question answer session. But before that, 1 hour only for theory session. Then after I'll switch to for this theory mode to hands-on mode. So that will benefit it to you. So if we're talking about this embedded system, so this embedded system is nothing but it is combination of hardware plus software. So here I assume you have this mixed background, but in simple word, why this embedded system? Again, question arise, why this embedded system in only one word? So in only one word, my answer is for automation. So whenever we need this automation, we think about this embedded system. So look at these appliances that is around you, that is your AC, microwave oven, your washing machine. All this system consists of one dedicated hardware and one dedicated software, and this entire thing maybe contain some may or may not contain operating system, but that is called embedded system. And apart from this embedded system, which theoretical fundamentals and practical fundamentals applicable for these variable devices that we discuss. So our final goal is always product. We would like to develop this variable device, variable product. So this product is nothing but it is an enclosure, and if you open up this enclosure, so I think this one small hardware available in my hand. So ma'am, please can you acknowledge whether it is visible or not? Hello.
No, sir. It is not visible.
My video is enabled. My video is visible.
No, it's not visible, sir.
Wait. This small hardware, now it's visible.
Yes.
So it is a small hardware. It is an industrial product, and this small battery, and it is a use this variable embedded IO device that is used over here. Is beside this label ID5, and I have this couple of slide and couple of examples and demonstration for this. Switch to this. Now it's my presentation is visible.
Yes, it's visible,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So once we open up our enclosure, then we find out this PCB along with this battery, because majority of time these variable devices are always battery operated. So this product may contain, now try to understand this terminology, SOM, SOC and processor. So what is called the SOM? SOM is nothing but system on module, that consists system on chip, RAM plus flash memory. So yeah, out of these few faculty members also this heard about Arduino, Node MCU, ESP32, Raspberry Pi. So in this ESP32 and Node MCU, if you again open this enclosure, then again one PCB is there. In this PCB, SOC plus flash memory actually connected. So let me tell you, in case of this ESP32 SOC, there is no flash memory available. And what is the significance of this flash memory? That I'll discuss after these 2 to 3 minutes in this firmware. So now, so to develop this our product, we have to select SOM or SBC. So SBC is nothing but single board computer. So Raspberry Pi, BeagleBone Black, Jetson Nano, Google Coral, whatever you people heard, this is called single board computer. So when to choose this SOM, when to choose this SBC, it is again part of my session, no worry at all. And we are highly interested, or industry right now highly interested in SOC rather than only microprocessor and microcontroller. If we look at earlier products, at that moment people mostly use this word microcontroller, and our this design, we can design our this firmware, their session is fully on this microcontroller. But nowadays this product demand Bluetooth, Ethernet or Wi-Fi inbuilt, or there are some one more protocol is also there, IAN plus, but it is not part of this session. So right now let me write down some protocols, BLE and Bluetooth, that is more demanding by your wearable devices. So that's why we have to choose this kind of SoC, and this core and architecture is right now not part of this session. So now we have to start our journey from SoC, SOM. Based on selection of SoC, SOM, we have to prepare our own PCB. Then after manufacturing this PCB, we have to connect with this battery and we have to enclose it, that nothing but our product. So now we open up our product, and first thing, suppose if we look at the product development of wearable device, first and major challenge is, that is we have to select this hardware. So this hardware that is fall under embedded system, Arduino Uno, Raspberry Pi, Intel Galileo, Intel Edition, BeagleBone Black, Node MCU, ESP32, and this is a part of this today's session, NRF 52832 or suppose NRF 52840. So at academic level for wearable devices, people are talking about these two things. One is called prototyping and second one is called product. So as we people know, there is huge difference between this prototyping and product. So for writing our research paper and student projects, we used to guide the people to prepare your prototyping. But once we want to transmit this prototype into product, there are many challenges, there are many steps that involve in this process. So right now, whatever this device is that I mentioned over here is more not preferable for wearable devices. Here this ESP32 is or Node MCU may be preferred, but most of industry or 80 to 90% of industry not prefer. But yes, if product demand that much amount of complexity, then this kind of hardware useful for these wearable devices, otherwise not very much. But in India, whatever wearable devices industry prefer or product develop, they people right now adopt this SoC from Nordic. So Nordic is again from this 28 years the people develop this semiconductor, and major advantage of this Nordic semiconductor, it produce very low power SoC. And again, if we talk about this CPU, then CPU used by this Nordic is ARM Cortex M4. So initially the people produce or manufacture this NRF51, but nowadays this NRF51 obsolete from the market, and now this NRF52 available in the market. Don't worry, I have a couple of slides for in detail this NRF51 and 52 and how to getting started with this NRF51 and 52, which are these IDs are available, that I'll demonstrate. But these are the overview of this hardware. And now only this hardware is available in our mind. But once we want to develop something or suppose publish something or suppose test something, at that moment in India, there are three major players that I will discuss. But in India, majority of people prefer this Nordic semiconductor or this kind of devices. So now what is firmware? So firmware is nothing but, now try to understand. I show this hardware to you. So this is a microcontroller or CPU or SoC. Let's say example SoC or CPU. We are develop our application, and as we know, this is my digital system. And digital system only understood binary language 01010101. So whatever application developed by us, it may be in a two language, either high level language or low level language. So try to understand, it is a very good slide. So this content is coming up from my experience. It is not taken up from any internet source. So be with me. So here we want to like suppose develop some application. Suppose you want one wearable device, some wrist belt, or suppose one locket that you want to develop. So here once we fix up this hardware, once we fix up the specifications, now based on the specifications, we are trying to writing our program. So to write our program is two languages are possible. One is called high level, second one is called low level. In low level again two types. One is assembly and second is machine. But this machine level is very difficult for understanding and for remembering. That's why we never prefer. But our hardware need only this binary file, and this binary file is nothing but firmware. So those who are not coming from this background or electronics background or computer background, or those faculty members never touch up this hardware. So what is called firmware? So this is called firmware. In this SoC or microcontroller, whatever binary file that we store that perform your entire application or that fulfill your features of your product. Suppose in case of washing machine, whatever this mind or brain or control we imparted inside the washing machine, that is entire application or code stored in this SoC or microcontroller, that is a binary version, and this binary version is nothing but called firmware. Sometimes it is in more technical, but it is called ROM image as well. So what is called image? It is nothing but it is a combination of this your pixel, but location of pixel fixed, meaning is that here we have memory, and in this memory we are storing some address and data, and this address and data fixed. That's why some people it is also called ROM image. So in entire lecture I will discuss about this firmware, meaning is that our last objective is to develop this firmware. This firmware is nothing but binary file. Now how we can generate this binary file? So here this application, we have this application, we have two options. One is high level language, second is low level. But again, when to use this assembly level language, if time permit and if someone interested, then I also disclose which is this real-time application and when you need exactly this assembly level language. Otherwise, my focus on this more on this high level language. In this high level language, right now people prefer majorly three languages to develop this binary file, either C, C++ or MicroPython. So again, this is a C, but this binary language is highly depend on your assembly code. So here, if even though we are writing our code in this C language, but we need one translator. This translator is called this compiler that we used to call this compiler, or in some time it is called IDE, Integrated Development Environment. So we submit our source code to this compiler. This compiler job is converted first of all into this assembly level language, and then it is converted from this assembly level language into this binary level language. So my objective is, if you have suppose this binary file available from any vendor, then you can directly dump into your hardware and you can produce your product. But if it is available, but if what procedure that we have to follow, if I want to build my product from scratch, so at that moment, which steps I have to follow? First of all, I have to figure out specifications, features of my product. Then after I have to select my hardware components. Then after I have to, in case of variable device, I have to finalize my size, what kind of size that I have to prepare for my product. So based on that, it is single layer PCB, 2 layer PCB, 4 layer PCB, 8 layer PCB, that decision you can take up. And then after, what is the battery life that you want to provide, whether it is a 2 days, 10 days, or 1 week or 1 month. Based on that, again, we have to restrict some SoC. So that's why for product purpose, we have to select our SoC in such a way that is a low power consume, or sometime it demand ultra low power consumption. Otherwise, all are this microcontroller, we can generate this binary file. Suppose all these features that provided in this NRF, it is also available, but this architecture may differ And even though in this ARM Cortex is used for this both the cases, suppose in STM as well as in case of Nordic. But don't go for this slide. Right now, assume you have source code, you have compiler, you require this assembly. So assembly is again, it is a part of this compiler. And finally, we need this binary file. And this binary file is called firmware. So meaning is that this firmware is nothing but bridge between hardware and software. So in other words, people may announce it is a master brain of embedded system. Meaning is that suppose assume your AC. In AC we are controlling this stuff with this remote control, and in our AC, if you, upon of this our AC, one control unit is there. Again, if we reassemble this control unit, one small chip is there that is called microcontroller, and people are writing this as application, means C programming or C++ code or Python code. Compiler converted into this binary file, and this binary file available in this chip. Again, question arise. Here we have many blocks are available. So where we store our this application? So location is flash memory, because here it demand non-volatile nature. Here we demand non-volatile nature. So if my power gone, data never lose. In case of non-volatile, if it is memory, my memory is volatile, then if power gone, then we always lose the data. So that is the case in RAM. So I hope we are up to this. What is firmware? Only firmware, that part clear to you. So moving further to this session, now hardware, embedded firmware, and different approaches. So this washing machine, wearable devices, micro oven, whenever you need automation, meaning is that embedded system comes into picture. But it is a very vast domain. It is itself, it is one discipline. So if right now our main objective is wearable devices, so first of all we have to figure out what my wearable device demand, and based on that I choose my hardware, and based on that I have to choose my firmware approach. So majority of these people again after once you dump this firmware, so it is clearly written firmware is not software, but it is modified form of software, and as it control, manage, monitor data of products and appliances. So it is the difference between your firmware and software. So even though I knowing this firmware development, but suppose I assume washing machine is not performing very well in my home. So I have to call that service guy from this particular company. Why? Because source code is not available with me. That source code of that brain of my washing machine is available with only that guys. So if the people compile that binary and the people announce, please sir, change this firmware or replace this firmware into your SOC, it will work. So I hope you people with me. So after embedding this firmware into hardware, desired product started functioning until this function product until hardware background or this firmware corruption. So it may possible, but firmware may also corrupted. So if firmware may corrupted, then again we have to reload this firmware. And suppose if update is there, then we have to update this firmware. So in case of operating system or mobile phone, we received so frequently this update, but this is a SOC. Now try to understand, this is a very important concept, and this SOC available suppose at your wearable device, and you would like to update this firmware. So how we can? So first of all we have to reach that product, and we have to reopen this product, and we have need some loader to load this binary version file to my firmware. But it is the earlier days. But now due to this IoT, people are using this over the air concept in such kind of controller as well. So if your product demanding this over the air features, we can also include this over the air feature, and to sit here, we can upgrade the firmware of microcontroller as well. So nowadays it is possible. So I hope up to this, what is embedded hardware, which are the possible hardwares are available, what is called firmware, and which approaches that I would like to discuss, that clear in your mind. So steps for firmware development, that again I come to little bit for this step. Okay, let me discuss steps for this firmware development now. So ultimate goal is our firmware. So I always used to follow these 5 steps, because in any book programs are available, codes are available. If you search code for so and so, then you definitely get this answer. But what is missing? Process is missing. How to develop this program or how to develop this source code from scratch for this embedded application or for hardware, that kind of process not available, and we have to teach this process to our students. Otherwise, what happened once we submit any definition to our students, at that moment students are blank. Where to start? That is not in students' mind. So these are the 5 steps that I used to follow to develop any application. So these 5 steps are applicable for to design any tutorial, or same 5 steps I used to follow to develop any product. And this is my again on experience. It is not borrow from any book or from this internet source. So first of all, you require this application based device knowledge. So what is called this application based device knowledge? So in computer IT field, this Hello World program is very famous. So in this field, we have very famous code is called LED on off. So here I hope you people very well aware about this LED, because LED is everywhere. So it is 2-terminal device. Don't go for this reverse bias, forward bias, and this whole electronics. That knowledge you don't require. You people require only this 2-terminal. One is anode, second is cathode. And what is the use case of this LED? So either it will turn on or it will turn off. This is called my use case of LED. If I have suppose one sensor in my wearable device, so what is the kind of this sensor and how it produces data manually, that I should know. It is called device knowledge. Suppose DC motor, it is sometimes not part of your wearable device, but if you have suppose DC motor, so what is called application based device knowledge? Application based device knowledge means what is use case? Either it will rotate clockwise, either it will rotate anti-clockwise, or it will remain stopped. Suppose if your GPS, so GPS nowadays part of wearable devices. So in case of GPS, how it connect to your satellite, which kind of RAM that you receive, and then how to extract those information. This is called application based device knowledge. So again, that GPS may be based on some UART protocol. That GPS may work on I2C protocol. That GPS may work on SPI protocol. So that kind of knowledge, first of all, we have to extract before putting our finger on the keyboard to develop our application. So I hope this what is called what I want to convey from this step number 1, that is clear to all. And that same steps we also follow to develop our this application for NRF 32 module or 52 module. Second one is objective or requirements, meaning is that here we have to define our objectives. So whatever project definitions or specifications that I disclose over here. So suppose I want to develop one wearable device that includes GPS, and I want to take a record of my child, my wife, my girlfriend, my boyfriend. Those records, suppose if you want to track, then it is called your objective. Suppose if we want to develop this application for my robot, suppose based on some sensor activity, my robot goes forward direction, reverse direction. So here embedded systems are deterministic in nature. So we have to specify our objective. Then after, to work with this hardware, we have to develop or we have to draw this interfacing diagram. So based on this interfacing diagram, we come to know whether whatever SoC that's selected for this purpose is suitable for our product or not. Sometimes what happen, our project demand, suppose let's say example 15 GPIO, but GPIO available in your SoC maybe only 6 or 8. And you start to order, you put the order, place order of your particular hardware, and you start to develop meanwhile development of your product or application code. And once this hardware in your hand, then you come to know this is a very less number of GPIO, and again you have to sell this product in this your hardware in your OLX, and you have to put this new order. So that's why before writing code or developing application, or before ordering your hardware or SoC, please prepare interfacing diagram, so you come to know which hardware is suitable for your application. Then after here it is called modeling of system. So here we have two approaches are available. Suppose right now I'm very specific to this microcontroller. Modeling means here we have to prepare this flowchart, or in some case we have to prepare this FSM as well, finite state machine. So again, this flowchart or this FSM, we have two approach that I will discuss after 2 to 3 minutes. But in majority of case right now, whatever the people you suppose if you are not aware about this RTOS, then whatever you people prefer, or suppose if you are familiar with C programming, then Weidman, and then every function number 1, function number 2, function number 3, function number 4, and so on. Your program is running in this sequential manner. So this is again flowchart manner. So based on our algorithm, we are preparing our flowchart. So from this flowchart, it is a on paper steps. So I am developer, I am instructor for my hardware. I have to write this code in such a way to convey my message to my hardware. So there are two approaches that we will discuss. And last, after preparing this, and it is a very important job, and students never prepare this flowchart, and directly the people writing this or developing application, and that's why let me tell you, it is a bitter truth. But after completion of this 4 year, students are not able to write that single program from scratch. Why? Because they people haven't know this kind of process. So this process is very important. So before putting your finger into your keyboard, first of all, this on paper step should be clear in our mind. Otherwise, it won't work. And at last, I also give only 2-line tips to develop this firmware for your hardware. And last, it is as per my knowledge, it is my last step to convert your modeling of the system into program or application. So here you may prefer any language, C, C++ or Python. So here you can see the system calls a MPU, MCU, SOC or SOM. You people have this more clarity on, I think, SOC and SOM. So nowadays in some SOC, flash memory may or may not there. But in case of SOM, along with SOC, if we have flash memory and RAM, sufficient RAM that is demanded by my application, then it is called SOM. FPGA is not part of this course, so we leave it. So I hope faculty members, are you with me, and whatever I want to convey that you are grabbing. So consider this one example. This is again for healthcare, a respiratory system. So in suppose respiratory system, one oximetry sensor is there, one resistive touch sensor is there, and suppose one respiratory rate and measurement sensors is there. So again, suppose if I want to develop this firmware. So what is called this firmware? Again, I have these 3 sensors that I have to interface with either SOM or SOC. I use this SOM word rather than this SOC, so it is helpful to you. Now SOM is nothing but SOC. What is SOC? It consists your ARM Cortex CPU plus GPIO plus ADC plus DAC if it is on chip available, then I2C, I2S, SPI and DMA or interrupt controller. So whatever these things that is available, along with it memory plus flash memory, means memory in flash memory as well as your RAM, both are available. Now to develop this firmware, I have 2 approach. One is called super loop based approach and second is called RTOS based approach. One is called the super loop. So again, same system that I can implement using the super loop based approach, and same system that I can develop with help of this RTOS. So now why people are develop this RTOS? So here, what is the drawback of this CPU or SOC? So in case of microcontroller, we have single CPU. So what is the drawback of the single CPU? We never achieve this multi-processing kind of mechanism. we have suppose like if I analyze the same word to our human, so I always used to say God create only one JJP. This is Jignesh J. Patolia. Suppose, as we know, if we heard in processor, we create dual core, quad core, octa core, hexa core. So what is the advantage, or right now what is the disadvantage of single JJP? So suppose right now only single JJP, and suppose right now I'm delivering this session, and meanwhile suppose Mrs. Patolia call me, then again I have to two choice. I have to again put you in pause mode, go over here and pick up the call and say something and again come back to you. But simultaneously I can't perform this lecture delivering and talk with my wife. Similar way, suppose if it is a quad core, meaning is a 4 JJP, it is a 4 JJP, then assume it is your I right now I'm delivering this session here, this JJP engaging with Mrs. Patolia. This JJP, suppose I am not that kind of person, but for the sake of simplicity and for your understanding purpose, this JJP bahar number wali 1 and this JJP bahar wali number 2. So if we have quad core, so that kind of facility we can achieve. But what is the drawback in CPU and a microcontroller? We have only one CPU. So multi-processing always demand multiple cores, but we have only one core. That's why one core in sense we have only one body. So we can we have always engaged only with one process. So here, but human is good for this multitasking. So suppose right now I'm delivering this session with you, and meanwhile suppose if I have this, I need 5-minute break for example, then I give some assignment to you, I come back to completed my task and again I come back to you. So if we would like to achieve same kind of scenario, at that moment this real-time operating system or operating system comes into picture. So multi-processing and multitasking. So those who are this from computer background, please listen to me carefully. Multi-processing and multitasking both are the different story. Multi-processing always we perform on multiple CPUs, but multitasking that we can achieve with help of one CPU. So here we are introduced these RTOS to develop this firmware to increase CPU utilization. So again, what is the drawback? Because we are again here we have this cluster of these people, but we majority of these Gujarati, and we never believe without demo. So here I demonstrate each and everything live. What is the drawback of this super loop based approach, and in which situation we must have to adopt this RTOS. And again, if we adopt this RTOS, then which kind of drawback or which kind of compromise that we have to put in terms of this embedded system. So this is super loop based approach, and second one is called embedded OS based design. So in case of super loop based approach, it is a very simple approach. So those who knowing the C programming, so whatever you people did C program is nothing but super loop based design. Whatever you people perform with this coding, at least one code in the C program, then it is super loop based approach. But in this super loop based approach, our operating system always call which function? Main function. Then from this main function, it is based on our program. Suppose line number 1, line number 2, line number 3, and suppose it is a function number 1, then it switch to this function number 1, it completes this routine, and then after it come back over here. Similar to suppose here your function number 2, then again it switch from this here to function number 2, it completes it routine and it's come back over here. So this is a very simple approach, and our students also in case of electronics and computer, suppose if you have course in this embedded system, so majority of students develop this firmware. Firmware means nothing binary file that is generated from this human readable language. So what is the drawback of such kind of approach in this wearable device as well as embedded system? So assume in your wearable device, suppose we use this GPS in wearable device. If we use this GPS in our application, and my application demanding GPS as well as it displaying suppose some real time on my display, and similar way, if some notifications are there, then it also display in my LCD. Now consider this scenario. This is your function number 1, or let's say I simply also replace this task 1, task 2 and task 3. So it is very easy for me and you people as well to understand this why and when RTOS. So assume your program in a super loop based approach in this manner. So here your GPS task, and then here so your RTC display task, and here you have suppose some notification task. What is the drawback of this kind of programming? As we know, in case of GPS, first of all, we have to wait to establish communication between satellite and your device. If this connection is not established, then we never get our correct data. So if it is a super loop based approach, and here we use always some while loop, that is called calling approach. So here in this while loop, and suppose here we are in this loop, if it is not at least 2 to 3 satellites are needed, 2 to 3 satellites are needed to receive actual data. So here suppose in task number 1 we wrote our program in such a way, here it's 80 commands on all this, and here we are checking whether this my number of satellites is more than 3 or not, for example. And if it is not like that, then it iterating only this task 1. So what is the drawback? This task 2 and task 3 never get chance if your device, variable device, unable to connect with your satellite. I hope are you with me, and this my words is clear to all. While 1 your program is stuck over here, your even though RTC, because this task never get chance to run, this task again never get chance to run, and that's why display is not there, and your variable device is stuck into this only your GPS communication. So here if we replace this coding by second approach, that is called embedded OS base. Again in embedded OS base there are two meaning, one is GPOS and second one is RTOS. But right now I'm discussing all about this controller. That's why I restrict my this half an hour for only RTOS, and then after I have this couple of slides for when you people need this GPOS as well, in which kind of variable device. So now in case of suppose OS based design or RTOS based design, we have this kind of facility. We have entry point, main, then we have setup, and then these 3 tasks run in concurrent manner. In this super loop based approach, my task running in sequential manner, but in case of RTOS, right now my task running in concurrent manner. Now what kind of facility we people provide over here? Again we are putting same while 1. Again suppose it is my task 1, same program, and I also put this while over here. Again suppose it is my task 2, that is the display on this RTC, and here suppose task number 3 that display notification. But here those who are from computer background, or suppose in our daily life, we are also scheduled. So one scheduler is there in case of this RTOS based design, and it take the decision which task having higher priority, which task having lower priority, which task has to run. So here we have to write our firmware in such a way, or develop our application in such a way. In task 1 we are provide suppose 10 millisecond to this, again suppose 10 millisecond to this, and 10 millisecond to this. So here we are switching. Suppose within this 10 millisecond this task 1 is running. After 10 millisecond it is switched to this task 2, your CPU is hand over to task 2, and again after 10 millisecond this CPU hand over to task 3. So similarly it is called round robin fashion or RR algorithm that is available in your real-time kernel. So which are these real-time kernel available for CPU, that I also disclose. But I hope so. I hope you people having this idea when we need RTOS. So if we adopt such kind of mechanism, then it might be problem. Our some tasks never get chance. But here it demand memory, because here we have to assign individual stack memory to each task. So here there are two approaches very famous nowadays. One is Superloop based approach, second one is called RTOS. So those MNCs in my contact, they people majority of time use these RTOS in their product. So that's why if it is feasible, then in your curriculum, please add at least one chapter on this RTOS if it is feasible, and not only theoretical concept. Along with this theoretical concept, please add up this hands-on stuff as well. So I'll demonstrate what is which RTOS is available and which RTOS we have to adapt. Why choose RTOS, that sequence gradually we discuss. So this is again choosing factor. Nowadays again for this slide, assume GPOS as well as RTOS. It is only embedded OS that kind of, so for security purpose people are only interested for the 6%, but majority of time people look at for this availability of source code, and this is very important, technical support. That's why whatever we discuss for variable major key player, one is a cheapest, but even though people are not adapted. Second, these are these RTOS or operating system currently used to develop any embedded system or this variable device. So this is embedded Linux. It is my again separate one course, and this RTOS is also one of my PG course. So right now whatever I discuss with you, so it is again concrete or conclusion of my two courses of my that I used to deliver in my PG students. So here you can see some RTOS is also available from Kale, this RTX, but it is rarely used. Majority of time people use these free RTOS, and I'll demonstrate how to start with this free RTOS and what is advantage. It is a free of cost. So again, if you want to start with this free RTOS, it is free. That's why this name itself suggests free RTOS. These are these RTOS is available in the market. Free RTOS, VxWorks. So in some MNCs, people are working in VxWorks as well. It is a very costly. So once your demand is a very hard real-time applications that is feasible in your aeroplane, defense, so they people use this work with this VxWorks. And there are one or two companies this are located in this Ahmedabad. They people again working in this free RTOS in many companies. But there are companies available in Baroda. I forgot to name, but because one of my students before 3 years that get chance to internship in this VxWorks, and free RTOS is a part of my curriculum. And these RTOS is available, but is not widely famous, or it is a usage is less than 10%. If you put this in 100% scale. So real-time application, there are two types of application. One is called soft real-time, and second one is called hard real-time. So based on that, we have to take up decision which RTOS is suitable for me, and whether these RTOS provide me real-time features. If it is not so, we have to switch this RTOS. So here, how we can differentiate? It is based on deadline. It is based on deadline where we can bifurcate these two things. One is called soft real, second one is called hard real. In case of soft real time, let answer is an acceptable answer, but in case of hard real time applications, missing the deadline, it is a ABS, anti-locking braking system, as well as our airbag based example for hard real time system. As we know how much time, if accident collision occur, then how much time it required to reach our head to our steering. It's a fraction of second, or it's terms of microsecond or milliseconds. Before that, if our this embedded system or that SOC not performing their job, then human loss. So that's why we have to adopt this kind of real-time application for RTOS. Now come to our main topic, firmware development for this variable device. So up to this, what I discussed, what is embedded hardware, what is firmware, which are these two approaches. Two approaches means Superloop based approach and RTOS based approach. But there is RTOS based embedded OS based approach. In that, I focus is more on this RTOS, but there are some variable device in that the people also demand Android OS or embedded Linux OS. So they, you people having this background of variable device because it's the fourth day of this FDP. So last word is very important. This MCU, compact in size as well as capable to perform more functions. This is one of the topmost demand buy this wearable devices. So these are these watches, fitness tracker, healthcare. So many experts will I think I hope to cover all these product. So I'm not go inside this product, but my focus more on firmware. So here you can see this is a smart jewelry. In this smart jewelry, display is not required. UI in this on board, but in case of this watches, display is required. So in wearable devices, while developing this firmware, we have to analyze whether it demand UI or it not demand UI. So fitness band, rear head monitor, sleep monitor, NFS ring, such type of devices may or may not contain display, but some devices may contain display. And if it is content display, then majority of time people are use some I2C based display or SPI based display, and that is a major of this thing OLED. So a requirement of wearable device, I think it's covered by many experts. So my interest is this bare metal and operating system. So now from these slides, it is a very informative slide. You come to know whether this OS, general purpose OS or RTOS needed for your application or not. So if it is a very simple application, basic application, then here it is a proprietary firmware. Proprietary firmware means it is our property. So whatever source code developed by you and this binary file that is generated by our IDE or compiler, that is called proprietary firmware. And lightweight RTOS. So again, in all these three cases, you can see the people use this word lightweight RTOS. But in last case, mobile OS such as Android, Linux, if your wearable device consists of that kind of features, this smart gear, smart glasses, that this Linux comes into picture, or mobile OS also comes into picture. But majority of cases here Superloop based approach or RTOS based approach. So this is again block diagram, what we can say for this kind of SOC. So here this is we have not SOC, it is again SOM or SBC. No, not SBC. So CPU. This CPU majority of time ARM Cortex M4. Time is running, so I'm not go beyond this because I want to demonstrate some hands-on activity as well. So jump to this very good part. This again, this is the difference between your classic Bluetooth and this BLE, and BLE plays a vital role for these wearable devices. And based on that, we have to choose our SOC. So this NRF embedded devices, three major key players are available in the world. One is Nordic Semiconductor, second one is Cypress Semiconductor, and third one is called Dialog Semiconductor. So it is a very ultra low power manufacturer, but again, as we know, it is a time constraint. Suppose if I give simple example and that it gives this difference between these two semiconductor, everyone know in case of this mobile industry, Apple having very good quality. But now check our pocket. Is Apple in our pocket or everyone pocket? Answer is no. Why? Because cost. So similar way here, in case of embedded system, we have these constraints are very tightly constrained. So Cypress Semiconductor, some Amazon develop some product that demand very ultra low power energy or consumption, then the people use this semiconductor from Cypress. This Dialog is cheapest. Again, let me tell you, this Dialog is cheapest, but there is no technical support or much technical support. That's why it is very famous in China, but it is not very famous in our country. In our country, two things are very famous, but out of these, Nordic is a key player in India. So those companies who provide the solution for this wearable device, they people right now adopting this Nordic based SOC. So initially they people this NRF51 very famous, but now NRF51 absolute from this market, and they people available this two SOC. One is NRF52 832 and second one is called 840. So it includes 32-bit ARM Cortex M4 running at 64 megahertz. It's supporting BLE 5.0, and after this 2020, this BLE 5.1 and 5.2 is also released. This includes flash memory. So what is the difference between this 832 and 840? It is in terms of some memory. So here you can see flash memory is 512 KB, and it is a flash memory is 1 MB flash. So what is the significance of this flash memory? So first we can store our by firmware, as well as suppose if our application demand, suppose BLE connection is not there, or suppose it disconnected. So it might chance it publishing or your module is advertising some data, but it is due to this connection is not there, you might get lose your data, and this data is very important for you. So in such cases, we can also store our data in flash memory as well, because this flash memory store in this paging form. So each page having this 4 KB, there are 128 pages based on this 52832 or 52840, and this is a common feature that is available in both. If you are talking about this ADC, then in ADC it is configurable. You can configure 8-bit, 10-bit and 12-bit. By default it is a 10-bit, but if you want to reduce or increase this resolution, that you can. So these are this kind of development boards are available in the market, and whatever product that I show you, this is again use this only Nordic SoC. So at initial development, or suppose your student product project purpose, or suppose your research consultancy purpose, we can procure such kind of boards at our department. So this is SoC. That's why and it is very small in size, and it includes everything inside this, and it is a ultra low power SoC. So here, what is the advantage of this Nordic? So here we have hardware. On top of hardware, again we have this SDK. It provides this APIs. So APIs are available, NRF API. And again, suppose if you would like to work with this BLE, so BLE is not part of this session. Otherwise, it require again more 4 hours to discuss on this BLE. But if again we want to develop firmware which includes this BLE code as well. So again, question, sir, can we have to write this code from scratch? Answer is no. This Nordic Semiconductor provide us binary executable file, and that the people call as a soft device. So we only look at for APIs, that is a ready-made function like this printf and scanf that you people use in your C program, and with help of that APIs, we can develop our firmware in a very less time. So this is called these soft devices. So once you come across this word called soft device, meaning is that binary executable file is available, only our compiler attach that binary file during this linker stage. There is no need to write each and everything from scratch. So here I demonstrate now this SDK and how to start with this. Again, after writing your application, we have to upload this hex file into our hardware or SoC. So this is this JLink or programmer, we can say. With help of this, it is responsible to load our binary version file inside our this chip. So during your development, you people need this kind of programmer as well. So for development purpose, we use this Sager Embedded Studio. So let me jump to my hands-on session, which will give this more clarity, and then I come back to this our slide, and if time permit, then I will discuss some FreeRTOS concepts as well. So this is yours. Now we have concept of hardware, we have concept of firmware. To develop this firmware, we need compiler or IDE. So this is a Sager Embedded IDE. This is available as in this Nordic website. So if you would like to start with this Sager, then type Sager Embedded. You can only develop your code with help of Sager Embedded Studio. You can develop your application with help of Keil as well. But as you know, in an industry purpose, when your students switch from our academic to industry, at that moment Keil is a proprietary software, So if it is a startup company or it is a small scale company, then it is a not everybody cup of tea to purchase this scale software, and that's why we used to give this experience to whatever tools that used by industry at our institute. So it take you in this website, and from this here you can download this Embedded Studio. It requires 631 MB, and here you can see it is a free for non-commercial use. And again, one drawback of Kale for demo version, it generate binary for few of KB, free for commercial use with licensed partner devices, and it is available for Windows, Linux, and Mac. So once you download and once you install, then this icon available in your desktop. Then after, what we have to download? We have to download SDK for this Nordic. Again, I repeat once my word. We have to download this SDK for this Nordic. So I already download this SDK for this session because we have limited amount of time. So this kind of this zip folder it will download. Device download NRF SDK you can see over here, and inside this component is there, inside this driver. So whatever this slide you can see here, you can see soft devices and all these binary files available in this folder. So your linker will link this all these files from here while generating your firmware for your wearable device. We are highly in the config. So this is kind of chips are available or SoCs are available. Similar way for examples, here you can see peripherals, or in these peripherals, all these whatever blocks the people kept, the people develop this simple application for all blocks. So here we only need the knowledge of C programming or C++ programming and how to use these APIs. That kind of knowledge that you people require. So if I copy, you can see over here as well, Blinky and Blinky FreeRTOS. So FreeRTOS, when we have to use that I also that we discuss, but again still doubt, then we discuss more on this FreeRTOS as well. So simple, copy this Blink or Blinky, or first of all, place this entire your SDK into anywhere. Suppose right now I keep this my NRF SDK over in my C drive. I go to my example. In example, again I create my own folder that is called workspace. And suppose this Blinky is available, then again initially I close it. I'll try again. So it is now blank. So once you download your SDK from this internet, this is a blank file. Go to this example. This folder we have to create. Workspace, you can give any name, my project, your name, but it is a very simple name, or it is your function appropriate name. Now I jump to these peripherals. So in these peripherals, GPIOs are there, ADCs are there, interrupts are there. But for simplicity or due to this time constraint, I demonstrate this Blinky. I copy over from here and I copy in this workspace. Now go to this Blinky. Board available with this PCA 140. Then go to this blank part. Here you have option this ACS. ACS is nothing but here this is available for Scale. So if you have this Scale software available with you and you are fine with this Scale ID, then you can also develop your firmware using this Scale. But right now let me demonstrate this ACS. In ACS, click on this project. So this advantage of this SDK, there is no need to directly click on this your ID, create project, new project, and then assign some name, and it gives for this blank. No. Advantage of this, now if you click on this main.c, this file is created for you. I hope you are with me. And now let me discuss this term one by one. So if we remove this thing, so this is your blank files. So here you can see this NRF APIs are available. For these NRF APIs, we have to refer that API document that is again provided by Nordic Semiconductor. So I hope you people are familiar with this Arduino programming, and if it is my LED blinking program, then here, if again from here I would like to prepare this Arduino program, then two functions are minimum, two functions in Arduino. One is called setup and second one is called loop. For that you have to define signature of that function, void setup, right? This is the signature of your function, and similar way void loop, again this parameter, and same functions we have to define over here. The very what is a good advantage and beauty of Arduino programming? In case of Arduino programming, while you work with Arduino Uno, then it's very bit easy to write your application and develop your firmware, because ready-made APIs are available. You have to write suppose pin mode over here for your suppose pin number that I assume pin number 17, one LED is connected. So this is your Arduino API. If I am talking about those persons, those who already know this Arduino programming. Otherwise, you are not getting, then sorry for that. But this kind of APIs are not available, or this kind of API is not valid for this NRF 52 SoC. So here we have to check which APIs that is available or that is provided by my SDK. So if we look at this SDK, then if I talking about these basic output functions, so now I have to correlate which GPIO pin or which is the instruction or which APIs through which I can configure my pin as the output mode. So here this API NRF GPIO CFG output, and here we have to pass this number. So this is API through which we can configure our pin as output mode. So I assume I have one LED that is connected at pin number 17 of my board. So let me create this scenario as well, so it is very useful for you. Or so I talking about this board. Faculty members, suppose if you are new or fresh for this board, then also try to understand. I have this development board available with me. In this board, assume one LED on board available that is connected at pin number 17 of this chip. This NRF chip is connected, your pin is LED is connected at pin number 17. And right now we develop one application that will toggle our LED every 1 second or 2 seconds. So this is your GPIO. Similarly, suppose you have some sensors that is digital in nature, and in your wearable device we have sensors, and suppose we tap on our screen, and at that moment it come out from this wake up or sleep mode to wake up mode. So for that purpose we need to write this program for GPIO as well as sensors. So I am right now demonstrating one life cycle for this Nordic semiconductor or Nordic what we can say NRF modules. So this line won't work because it is only applicable for Arduino. Same features that I want to adapt with this Nordic, then this is an API, because this API provided by your Nordic SDK, that is software development kit. And similar way in white loop, whatever functions, suppose we want to turn on this LED and turn off this LED every 1 second. So for that purpose we have to send logic 1 and logic 0 on particular pin with some interval. So here again we have to check which APIs associate to sending for sending logic 1 and 0 on my particular pin. So here this is API NRF GPI underscore pin underscore set. Here you have to pass this number. So which number that I have to pass? 70. Now again for delay purpose we have two approach. One is called this delay using for loop, but it is not recommended. And second one, is there any library available for that in which this definition of function is written? So answer is yes. This is a APIs that I can use to develop this feature. Okay. So here you have the same feeling of Arduino programming, void setup, void loop, but only difference is that instead of pin mode, we have to use these APIs of SDK provided by this Nordic, and similar way, which is the equivalent API of Arduino, digital write, comma high API. And here in case of Arduino, it is delay. And then after you need to only build this target. So build a solution. So this build is completed. Once this build is completed, your hex is generated, and what is called firmware. Now be with me. Again, go to your this workspace, output folder, release, and exe files. In this exe files, you can notice over here, this is 24th June, and my time is 12:27 p.m. So this is called firmware. Faculty members, those who new to this word, and this file we have to now install or suppose transfer from here to flash memory of my SOM. And for that purpose, we need this device that is called J-Link. This device we need to transfer that hex file from here to there. And once your code is tested okay, then after there is no need to your PC. Then after your embedded system or variable device works stand alone. So this is the entire cycle, development cycle for your variable device development. So meaning is that now what we have to, if we want to deep dive into these NRF devices, then first of all we have to familiarize this Sega Studio. Suppose KL is available, then no worry at all. How to configure this MSys library, how to use these soft devices, how to generate hex file, after generating file or firmware, how to dump this firmware from our laptop or desktop to our hardware. And once it is done, then after we have to verify whether is fulfill our requirement or not. If it is no, then problem in two cases. Either my firmware is not correct or my hardware is not correct, because in case of this variable devices is a part of one embedded system. If we look at this embedded system, here we have two terminology. One is called hardware, second one is called software. So we have reliable on at least one part. So right now we are developing our firmware. That's why we are not reliable on our firmware. So we should reliable on our hardware while developing such kind of software. So it is my humble request, suppose if you are developing this kind of firmware, then rather than putting this connection on your breadboard, it is advisable to use this kind of development board, or suppose you have to fabricate your own development board with help of your minimum requirement. So sometimes what happen, if wire is loose in this breadboard, then everything is fine in your software, your hardware is not proper, and you are not achieving your result, and result may incorrect due to hardware. But we are figuring out our solution in software only. So this is a one thing. Similar way, suppose if you have a button, or suppose one thing also, one advantage or features of suppose this Sega Studio once over here, and if you want to jump what is inside this NRF GPIO.h, then go to this definition. It take you to this .h file available in this your SDK, and here you can see. So this is a very important line. So I hope this computer people very well know what is the significance of this. And if you are not people, and if you would like to discuss, then ask me in this doubt solving session, sir, what is the meaning of this? And if you people know this, that's very good for you. So each and every APIs and this type def enum is very important concept as far as this embedded systems or embedded C is concerned. Then static keyword is also very important, because if we can see this definition of this any GPIO, then it take you to the static inline function. And again, if you, it is a nothing but hash defined. It is nothing but again hash defined in your one of the file. This static inline is nothing but again hash defined underscore underscore static underscore inline space static inline. So static is very, very important, and is one of the favorite interview question if you are applying for this embedded profile. And here also you can see this SDK config. So this is also a very important concept. So only knowing your controller, your GPIO, it is won't work while developing entire firmware. You should familiar with your IDE as well. So sometime what happen, you look at for your UART logs, but in this SDK initially, due to this, as we know, this our wearable device mainly power consumption is very, very low. So that's why we have to make sure all this UART configuration is enable or disable, or that log you visualize on screen, that is enable or disable. So here entire configuration of your whatever these blocks available in our chip that is available in this SDK configs. So there are two ways. One is called through this your file, similar to suppose search for UART. So you can see over here it is 0. 0 means it is disabled, and you are developing your firmware, you are writing your application, you are generating your hex file. Luckily you are dump your hex file inside your board, but you never see, or you never see your logs on your console. Why? Because this configuration is disabled. That's why it is advisable while teaching this course to your student, this configuration file knowledge is that much essential as we know the C programming as well as how to use these APIs. Because if it is if the students are not able to this config everything in this configuration file, they never achieve their desired result. Even though suppose if you people are using this device for your research purpose or developing for your product or for suppose some consultancy project, at that moment it is also helpful for us as well. So this kind of knowledge that we have to acquire. So I hope you people with me. So it is an entire process. So what is entire process? Again, if I recall this, so if I revisit this code, so first of all we have to download this SDK from internet. Once it is downloaded, it is available in zip version. Unzip it, copy this all these folders. Go to your at least one folder, so it never your source code keep as it is. Prepare one folder that is called suppose NRF SDK. You can give any name. Then go to these examples. Yes, this one. In these examples, create your own workspace. Again, there is no need to go from your embedded studio and file new project. No. Go to this peripheral. It is a very simple project from Blinky. Copy this Blinky. Suppose right now this Blink free Artos. Go to this workspace, copy it or paste over here and rename it. Suppose it is a button, then rename it. So previous time I forgot to rename, so keep it this U button. Suppose it is your UART, then again go to peripheral. UART is that. So again, suppose you can copy it from here. You can paste it in this workspace. Project is ready. So this is the advantage of SDK. Or everything is ready for you, means ingredients are ready. You want to only check the recipe. What is called recipe? Your flowchart is recipe. So how to prepare this flowchart? It is based on your objective. And how to figure out this objective? This is called your specifications or demand by your product. And before that, whatever components that use in your product or wearable device, that knowledge of this entire, suppose if sensors is there, so I have to figure out whether the sensor is based on digital category or analog category. If it is analog category, then before develop this firmware for my analog sensor from this peripheral, see this SD successive approximation ADC. Yes, this is ADC, successive approximation ADC. So you should familiar this block of your sensor as well as this block of your NRF module. So it is advisable, and this is all the sample codes available for each and every peripheral that is available in your SoC. So if I take you a short journey with this NRF module. So this development user guide is available for this board. And similar way, then after product, we are only highly interested in this small SoC. So for that purpose, if again you had these APIs provided by Nordic, and your company want to develop that entire APIs from scratch, at that moment we need one more document that is called this datasheet or reference manual. So here we can see this power or CPU. Suppose if you want to store some data in your non-volatile memory, so where you can store, and if I take you through this block diagram, so this is inside your SoC, all these things. But if you have this, you are using this Nordic SDK, then there is no worry at all. So this is this SoC in which there are only one port. There is only one port. There is P0, having 32 pins. So you can see this last pin number is P0.31, and starting from P0.0. So these pins behave as a GPIO. This pin behave can as a ADC. This pin can behave as a I2C, SPI, I2S. So I2S is one of the sound protocol. So this is the journey of this NRF. And again, suppose if you have some HTM kinds of board, so HTM is also preferable by industry, and right now majority of developments the people develop using this SDK. Sorry, STM32. So this slide is very important. So here, which we have to select one, either ESP32, this NRF52 or STM. So these are these criteria that you have to analyze, and then after based on that we have to choose, or we can choose this particular SoC or SOM for our wearable device. So here this advantage of this NRF52 is a minimal cost as well as low power. But it is not like that ESP32 we can't use. We can use, but for this, if it demand ultra fast performance, but power consumption is tolerable. So if you can bear this feature, then you can use also this ESP32, because nowadays for IoT, people are use this ESP32 widely. So if we take short journey of this 2 to 3 minutes of ESP32 development board, then if it is your research paper, then it is very easy for you to compare your application for one device, second device, and third device, and you can extract some parameter in base of some comparison in form of some power consumption graphs and charts. So this is ESP32 development board. This is also available in my hand. If it is not visible, then last I can see you. So BLE is also available. So here Wi-Fi plus BLE available. CAN protocol is also available. Here there is no need to your external loader. This programmer is also available along with this board. So this kind of board to also useful for your wearable device, but not widely. Industry prefer majority of Nordic, but if yes, your product demand very high performance by compromising of your power, then you can use. This is reset and power button. Yes, I am highly interested in this. This is called SOM. So faculty member, whatever I call SOM, this is called SOM, this is SoC, and this is flash memory. So what is again drawback if we use this ESP32 for our product? This much amount of size for flash memory we have to bear, because there is no on-chip flash memory in this SoC, let me tell you. And that's why it demand, and where we have to store our program, it is always in non-volatile memory. So this amount of space that we have to add, and also again we have to fetch data from flash memory, then also our we have to compromise our speed as well. But here frequency is operating 240 megahertz, then we never lose this speed. I hope are you with me? So this is a ESP32 DOWDQ6, meaning is a dual core. So Nordic is a single core and it is a dual core. Here 0 means embedded, no embedded flash. It is a Wi-Fi and dual mode Bluetooth, and it is available in QFN package 6x6. So it is useful for wearable device, but again major two drawbacks. One is no flash memory available and power consumption high. Otherwise, again it having the 34 GPIO, it having ADC, whatever provided by your this Nordic, this all capability. Along with this, Wi-Fi is also available. Touch sensors are also available, but majority of time our wearable device not demand each and everything for this, and that's why it is suitable for but not advisable. These features that is available in this ESP32. And for programming purpose, you can use this ESP IDF. You can use your Arduino programming. You can use this MicroPython as well. But let me tell you what is the difference between this academic level of teaching and industry level teaching. So in industry, the people use the same ESP32 right now to develop their embedded system. If you forget about this wearable device, then some of wearable device the people using ESP32, but for majority of time the people stick to this NRF 5 due to low cost and low power as compared to ESP32. But suppose assume one product that developed by company, it is again used in ESP32. So which kind of experience student having during this 4 year of journey? They people used to use this Arduino IDE, and in case of Arduino IDE, everything is readily available. So it is a spoon kind of feeding. So fundamental and student learning path, if we look at the learning curve, so a learning curve is very less. So if once your students very good amount having very good amount of knowledge in this Arduino IDE, then switch this again board remains same, but switch to ESP IDF, and or ask him or ask her to download this SDK and try to play with this SDK, develop same tutorial that you already developed in this Arduino IDE. So it gives very good amount of knowledge, and it gives again industry experience to our students, and also along with the students we can also grab this industry experience. So now what is I have this 5 minutes, or then after I take up your questions. FreeRTOS when it demand. So now try to understand. I also disclose this suspense why when you use this FreeRTOS. So again let me take you to the second example of LED button. So in case of LED button, here you have this while true. In while true, suppose you are performing these two things. One is if NRF GPIO pin read button equal to 0, meaning is that here I am assuming one button available in my application, and once this button pressed by user, it goes into this loop, and in this loop here you can see while loop is there, and my program hold over here till I press this button, and meanwhile suppose assume second function, this printf come BBM message publish every 1 second. I assume this delay is available. So these two things I want to perform simultaneously. Okay, in my screen, this message should come every 1 second. Welcome to BBM on my console. And meanwhile, suppose if this event detected by my SOC, then it is also performed. But analyze this code. If button is not pressed, it is fine. It displays this welcome to BBM every 1 second. But think a moment, once this condition satisfied, means once I press this button and I hold it, at that moment what is the drawback? Now this welcome to BBM I can't see on this console. Why? Because it is only one CPU, it is only one controller. That's why once it's stuck over here, meaning is that right now I'm delivering the lecture, and if my suppose son call to me or Mrs. Patala call to me, I'm unable to receive his or her call. same significance. But suppose if I divided this job into task 1 and task 2. So suppose here I have task 1, and in this task, suppose again I am performing this while true. Try to assume it is a FreeRTOS code or RTOS programming, and then again I have task number 2. This task I perform this job. If it is my FreeRTOS code or it is my RTOS code, and if I perform, I implement in this round robin fashion, then what happens? I allocate time execute to this task, for example, 500 millisecond, and this task to 500 millisecond. Then suppose user press this button, but after 500 millisecond, I allocate CPU to this task. So this is here context switching. So it is paused for only 500 millisecond. So even though user press this button, welcome to BVM display on console. This is an advantage of RTOS. And if your product, variable product demand this kind of specifications or requirement, at that moment we have to adopt RTOS rather than SuperNuBis approach. Again, one more thing that I would like to share for this RTOS. Suppose we have UI, okay, display in this our LCD. This is called our LCD. Here, suppose I have task number 1 and task number 2. Suppose task number 3. Assume this respiratory system. So task number 1, display hello world. Try to display this hello world onto this LCD. Same time, suppose it displaying the content. Suppose temperature equal to 40, and same time suppose task 3 display on LCD oxygen level is so and so. Now try to analyze this scenario. What happened if 3 tasks together in your, for example, what we can say a SuperNuBis approach? First is display, and then after this control take over this, and again it overrides this data, again control take over this, and again it override data. So sometimes we can see garbage. So here in case of RTOS, some mutex kind of mechanism or semaphore kind of stuff, mutual exclusion. So because this resource is shared, so we have to learn task management, we have to learn this resource management, we have to learn interrupt management, we have to learn this how to use software timer. Each these concepts that fall under RTOS that we have to adopt. But I convey my message when we need RTOS, and all these programs that is possible in SuperNuBis approach, that is also feasible in this RTOS. But here when this RTOS is demanding, so if you want to run your CPU or maximize CPU, maximize throughput, decrement this latency, at that moment we have to adopt this RTOS. But once we adopt this RTOS, is a compromise of your power as well as memory. So if your product is ready to compromise it, then we must adopt this RTOS. But sometimes our scenario demand this RTOS. So even though our power consumption is less, we have to have adopt this RTOS to develop our firmware. So this is a free RTOS. Sir, can I take at least 3 minutes more for this demonstration? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So suppose you people are very much familiar with this Arduino programming. So let me demonstrate at least one program in this Arduino as well, so you can feel your comfort zone as well, rather than this industrial kind of stuff. So, yes, this is my Arduino. So in this Arduino, if again you want to use this FreeRTOS or install this library into FreeRTOS, then go to this sketch, click on this include library, click on this manage library, and in this manage library, one window will pop up. Here you have to write this FreeRTOS. Search on this. So here you can see this is installed because I already installed it. But it is if your first time, it is your fresh Arduino ID, then it asks for this FreeRTOS. But it is only for Uno, Nano, Leonardo, and Mega. So similar way, this FreeRTOS is vary from your architecture to architecture. But all these functions and concepts remain same. But only RTOS porting will differ. Porting will differ meaning is that suppose I wrap up one chocolate and I chocolate hand over to you. Inside it may be dairy milk, inside it may be 5-star, inside it may be pearl. But wrapper is only this FreeRTOS. So according to your architecture, we have to change this based on our SFRs. But this task handle, X task create, all these APIs remain same. So here, rather than creating one main program, here we are creating our scheduling. And in this scheduling, first we have to handle or we have to learn this task management. So as I told you, task number 1, task number 2, and task number 3. So here we have 2 tasks. We are creating 2 tasks. S task create and again X task create. So this is an API. This is provided by FreeRTOS. So one nice book is available. It's a free of cost on this freertos.org. It's roughly page number around 399, and separate one document available which consists only APIs. So all this definition of APIs that is available in that document. So what is the significance of this? So it is a function. So once you want to call this task, then our program counter jump to this function. It is optional. It is only for user. This is a very important and very invariable device. Here, if sufficient amount of memory is available, then and then we adopt this RTOS. Otherwise, what happened? Here we have to provide separate stack memory to each and every task. But in case of Superlubis approach, there is a common stack memory we are allocating to our only one task. You can see while loop is empty, and then after here scheduling policy. So it is a preemptive scheduling policy. This is called priority. So it is a priority number 1. It is a priority number 2. So question arises, how much maximum priority we can assign? If we can put same number of priority, what is behavior of my program? So for that purpose, again you have to go through entire FreeRTOS course. But this FreeRTOS, if you want to deep dive into this, you can start with Arduino Uno. You can start with this Node MCU, ESP32, and then after, so it is your academic version. But industry prefer, suppose it is a ESP IDF. So again, I develop this all programs in ESP IDF as well. So this is the difference between development and academic development, even though we are using same hardware. So it is ESP IDF, ESP32, and you can see over here these all programs that I develop or using ESP IDF. So here same function, X create API that you can see in your Arduino ID, X create. But what is the difference? Difference here, GPIO set level. There is no digital write, there is no pin mode. But here again we have to look at the SDK that is provided by this Espressif. So Espressif develop this SOC, and all SOC developer provide that SDK. And if we learn the process how to work with this SDK only for one SOC, then we can drive or we can implement our products or projects with help of any SDK. So with these words, it's from my side. Again, I have one demo for this STM32 as well. So if I stop presenting, so this board is visible to you. Hello?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah, so this is a STM32. In this product only 2 things. One is button and second one is called LED. So once I press this button, it turn on this LED. So here it is working with this BLE. So NRF toolbox are there. 2 applications that we need to download. That is provided by Nordic. So this application maybe you can visualize. Yes or no? Is it visible? Let me stop my screen.
Yes.
So here now this device, whatever in my hand, first of all, let me stop my session. Yeah, so I can visualize whether this is visible or not. So this is a small hardware. Inside this, behind this hardware, wherever my this first finger is, that this is called NRF 52832. 52832 hardware is there. It is an industrial PCB, and it is a used for industry product. It developed by industry. This is located in this Ahmedabad, and one LiPo battery is available with me. So here it is advertising its message. So here, if I want to connect this with my BLE module, so first thing I have to develop my own application. But during this development, I only bother about this product is working or not. Then this I can use directly or ready-made application provided by this Nordic itself. So I click on this UART because it is working on that, and here at last you can see only this connect button. So once I click on this connect button, it will display me whatever this possible device is available, and here I name is as a TS recorder. So now TS adder is connecting, and then after at last it displaying me disconnect. Disconnect means it is connected, and then after these are these logs, and once I press it is connected, meaning is that LED is permanently on. Before that this LED is turned off. Right now this link is established, and meaning is that now my device can communicate with my mobile phone. So once I press this button, it display one message. So you can see only it is publishing message. Once I press this button, each and every time you can see these logs are scrolling. So believe me, it is working. So right now, what is the meaning of this product? So here only one button and LED. Two things are there. So this is a product is used for healthcare purpose. So in healthcare, the people want to record how much syringe the people what we can say give to this particular patient. So here it is available in entire one enclosure. In this enclosure, one syringe is there. Once once you click on this button, it automatically record this time in RTC, and it published into the cloud, or it is published in your database. And based on that, your owner or your doctor can verify whether this syringe is given on particular time or not. So it's from my side. It's sorry for that. This STM32 demo is pending, but if you people wish to that, then in other session, maybe if God permit, then we meet. Thank you very much for listening to me carefully, and thank you this organization and head of the Department of Electronics and Electronics Department, Bhargav sir, and principal sir of this BBM to giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you, sir. It's 1 o'clock, then I wind up my session at 1 o'clock. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, again, then again, STM32 is ready for with me.
No, it's okay, sir. But I think we are already reaching to 1 p.m. So if there is any more question from participants, our expert will be happy to answer it. So last chance for the question answer. Otherwise, we can conclude the session. Okay, so once again, I'm putting the attendance link. Those who have not filled up, they can fill the same. I request Professor Palak to give vote of thanks to our expert.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for such a highly informative session. You have explained step-by-step process to develop firmware in such a way that I think everyone should understand easily. Explain approaches by which one can develop firmware, that is Superloop approach and RTOS or embedded OS based approach. Even you have explained us knowledge about the freeware software and material available on internet to develop a firmware. Really, your content as well as hands-on session have given us an encouragement to develop a firmware for wearable devices. You have explained the topic from all directions, that is from scratch to development. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you
Sir,
very
there
much.
is one question in the chat. I hope let me just speak it out. Tips to write the code so that the power consumption can be minimized.
If we're talking about these tips, so before that, if you are highly interested in this wearable device, then this SDK they people provide, that is a highly tested. But again, suppose if you people go for this ESP32, then again here it is a power consumption based on your device, means in distance. If you are adapted this Wi-Fi, then it is always this power hungry. For this power consumption, there is no tips for example for this your development of firmware, but yes, you have to, again, your some compiler are that is available in Kale, some optimization levels. So you have to apply this optimization level. Suppose you are familiar with this Scale, and you are working in this ARM series or ARM Cortex series, then there is optimization level 0, 1, 2 and 3. And then after this, right now you are developing your code in a high level language, but your power consumption or there is a develop what we can say, it is depend on your assembly level code. So suppose if, let me give you one example, you are write one instruction counter plus plus. So this is only one instruction for you counter plus plus. But here in case of firmware, right now we are talking about hardware. At that moment, this counter plus plus first of all converted into this assembly level language, and then we have to figure out whether it is a depend on compiler and it depend on your optimization level, whether it is able to, or your compiler is intelligent to reduce that hex file or not. If it is so, then and then you reduce this power consumption for coding style. So for coding style, you are familiar with this optimization level as well. Otherwise it create a problem. Second problem, while working with this RTOS, if you prepare this counter plus plus line in a one task, again same counter plus plus you put in the second task, then what happened? Again, suppose once we converted into this assembly level language, that might be 3 line or 4 line, and that is called non-atomic operation. So suppose your task 1 you assign for 5 milliseconds, task 2 is again 5 milliseconds. You are assuming a counter plus plus executing in one line, but what happened if your processor start to execute this first assembly level instruction, and meanwhile this context switching occur and your CPU hand over to task 2, then again you might get incorrect result. So again, while working with this RTOS, make sure if your code is demanding very context switching, so context switching must be less in case of firmware development for wearable device. Otherwise, more context switching, more power consumption. So these are the tips for your coding. I hope you are getting your answer. And if it is no so, then please unmute yourself and speak it out. Any other question? Hello. So I'll share my presentation because I used to teach this open source, so my material is also open source, and I also open source, so I never restrict this material or presentation with myself. So it is my aim to spread this knowledge as much as possible. So you can use this material to your lecture purpose as well. You can also copy some data or entire material for you. You can also replace my name with your name. I never mind. No worry at all. My concern is my knowledge or my words to reach at end user, that is my students. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Thank you. There is no additional question, I guess.
Okay.
So we conclude over here. Thank you very much once again for your wonderful presentation and live demonstration of all the different aspects. So once again, we thank from the organizing committee as well as from the Institute, Birla Vishwakarma Mahavidyalaya, and we thank once again for your effort and your commitment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you participants, because without you, even though I'm radio mode, but I assume you people are there, that's why this session is possible. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Bye, sir. Should I leave, sir?
Yes, sir. You may exit.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.